Loyal viewers, welcome back. This is Basement Critic number 2. What are we doing today?
Today we are covering Tomb Raider, the reboot done by Crystal Dynamics, released earlier this year.
Tomb Raider. It's the reboot of the franchise. I didn't play it. Tilsnf, you did. Let's get an overview. What do you think?
Well, Tomb Raider is a game where you play as Lara Croft, an archaeologist who ends up marooned on an island. Her ship is destroyed in a storm, and her and her team end up washed ashore on this desert island. It's the complete opposite of a desert island. It's a lush, beautiful island.
It's a lush, seemingly deserted, or do you know there's inhabitants as soon as you arrive?
No, I said a desert, but you're right. It does seem deserted at first, and then it turns out it's not at all. The island's filled with people who wrecked there, and I guess they're kind of now the natives, and they're also a band of ancient peoples that somehow survived and are also on the island. So you've got Laura and her team, you've got some people who ended up there probably being shipwrecked the same way Laura and her team was, and then you've got the ancient people that are hanging out on the island. How? I don't know, but they're there.
Alright, so what's the overall style of the game? It's a third-person action-adventure?
Right, you play in third person, except when you're aiming, that pulls you into first person, and you make your way through the island. There's a lot of beautiful scenery in the game. There's really lush forests. There's you scale mountains. I mean, there's a lot of variety for what is a small island, and you just make your way through the island trying to find a way to escape. And during that, Laura has to create tools, and she starts with nothing. Basically, you're given a bow in the beginning, and you eventually find other weapons, and you create tools to assist you in traversing terrain and also helping with various obstacles that you have to overcome.
So it's got some sort of RPG development aspects to it?
There is like a skill set that you can improve upon as you play through the game, but it's really linear. There's not a whole lot of customization. I feel that it's kind of drip fed to you. Like, it doesn't matter if you want it or not, and it doesn't really do a whole lot to affect the game overall. There are like minor gameplay changes where you can add some moves, some combat abilities, but it doesn't really like flesh out Laura any more than just what you're given in the beginning.
Sorry for the outburst there. There was an animal living in my ceiling. So if you or the viewers hear some scuffling and, I don't know, something horrifying just coming through the mic, that's what it is. So it's a AAA game. It's a reboot of the series. What's the story all about? Like, it's got to have a pretty intense story because Square Enix has been known for those. Without any spoilers, of course.
The premise is there's an ancient, I believe of Japanese origin, like semi kind of like a demigod that lives on the island, and it inhabits the bodies of people, and it transfers its power from one husk to another, and that's how it's lived so long. Because the game itself, like, as you're moving through the different areas, there's all this World War II equipment that's been left behind, and there are ships from like, there are shipwrecks from just, how do I say this? There's like ancient shipwrecks. There's all this history, and it's all built around like this deity that resides on the island that inhabits like the upper portions of this really mountainous island. And Yeah, the story, I don't know. It was tough to follow at times. Like I said, there's
Well,
a group of people
it's supposed to
who,
be following Laura and her development from some like little college punk kid into the adventurer that we all know and love from all the old school Tomb Raiders, right?
yeah, it's an origin story, and you find yourself fighting against this group of people who are on the island, who have been wrecked there like you, and who are trying to escape, and also you find yourself trying to discover what the hell's going on with this ancient power that's keeping everyone on the island, and that is causing all this destruction. Because one of the story points, or like one of the main themes, is that no one can escape the island, and you can't really like get there safely. It's in this area called the Dragon's Triangle, and there's all these storms, and you can't escape. So you'll see shipwrecks everywhere. You'll see World War II airplanes just wrecked all over the place. You'll see
So it's
all
just
this
the
evidence that
Bermuda
you
Triangle
can't leave.
in Japan or something.
Right. And yeah, honestly, the story, it's a cool story, but it doesn't make really any sense whatsoever. I felt like at times they were trying to be a little leaning too much on like historical fiction, and then at the same time mixing in this supernatural aspect that didn't really mix well, in my opinion.
Oh, well, from talks we've had before, I mean, you apparently had a lot of issues with like the coming of age story. You said something about how maybe the pacing wasn't really done right. Like maybe you got into the killing spree a bit too quick.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you encounter the people already residing on the island who have been wrecked there like you, who now that is their home, it's a struggle from the get-go, and from the beginning you're tasked with like slaughtering people, and there are like stealth elements in the game, but it's so much easier to just mow through everything. In a couple instances you are forced to kill someone. So before we did this review, like I wrote an outline of my problems with the character development, and then I went and I listened to some reviews, and many smarter people had said the same things way before I wrote them. So I don't want to sound like I'm parroting those things, so I'm just going to touch on them briefly. But Laura is displayed as this really, really vulnerable young person who is now in this like impossibly difficult situation, and so she has all these this inner conflict, and she has all these demons she has to overcome, and at the same time, while the story is trying to flesh her out as the person, in the game itself you're already a killing machine, so it doesn't connect. It's the gameplay and the story as told through the cutscenes and through dialogue is just completely separate. It's like two separate games. It's like you're being shown a movie.
Like it starts with like this young, never before seen blood kind of chick, but you also start out with the ability to just slaughter everybody you see at the same time. You don't ever like feel vulnerable, although the character's supposed to be.
Yeah, you feel like Bear Grylls and I don't know, some sort of Rambo figure. I mean, combined. It just doesn't connect with the whole idea of this vulnerable person who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, from the get-go, you're just mowing through everything, and then the action stops, and you're having therapy sessions with your crew, and they're, trying to give you a pep talk, or you're just having this, like, inner monologue trying to boost... I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say here.
The self-esteem of our heroine. It sounds like there's a big detach between the cutscene Laura and the gameplay Laura to me. That's something I feel is pretty prevalent today in a lot of the bigger budget titles, which consequently is why there's a lot of failing bigger budget titles. But that's another story. That's another talk. Would you feel like there was a big focus on cinema, like the cinematography of the game, over top of the gameplay, or do you think it was pretty well balanced?
With regards to the cutscene, I mean they weren't overdone. Just
It wasn't.
looking at
It
them
wasn't like Metal Gear Solid, Sons of the Patriots, or whatever the hell, or Guns of the Patriots.
No, I didn't think it weighed one way too much compared to the other. I mean, like, the cutscenes themselves were well placed, but it was just the content of them that were like, why is this happening right now? I just killed 20 dudes. Why am I having to, have this inner dialogue to try to to try to coach myself? I just did it. Like, why am I having this discussion now? In the character itself, why is she having this discussion? It doesn't make sense.
How was the actual gameplay itself? Like, if there was no cutscenes, how would you have felt about the game?
The gameplay itself was solid. After writing my outline, I watched some complaints, heard some complaints from other people as to how it wasn't the greatest, but I really enjoyed it. The combat was solid. The weapons were all really fun. The upgrades to the weapons were pretty cool, and the combat was fun. I didn't have any problem with movement or any aspect of the gameplay. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, from what I saw
all the character-
of the videos, like it looks really, really smooth, and it looked pretty fun. But some of the stuff was kind of outlandish looking. Like Laura shoots a freaking little bow with a rope on it against a building and just pulls the building down, or she shotguns a freaking building down. That stuff seemed pretty ludicrous. And I wasn't quite sure if they were trying to go for the action hero thing, or if they were pushing for a little more realism.
Yeah, some of the climbing mechanics, you can like shoot an arrow into a solid stone cliff and like start climbing up it. It just doesn't really make sense. But overall, it was fun. It kind of had an arcadey feel to it, but it was well done, and it was very fluid. That's one thing I will say. The character, the character of Laura, and the animations, everything was really fluid and really well done. And visually, the game was just great. I mean, I played it maxed out all settings on PC, and it looks superb. I mean, it was great.
Did you play with the additional hair filter or whatever it was?
I did not know.
That's disappointing. I heard that was a big issue for a while, is tanking in video cards. But
Was that a bug?
no, it just really wasn't optimized from what I was gathering. I'm not sure if they fixed it or not. I've never really checked it out, but that was the rumor. All right, so if you had to recommend this game to somebody, who would you recommend it to?
I'd recommend it to someone who doesn't mind a few QuickTime events and who doesn't mind a really linear experience. The game lets you like backtrack and explore areas that you've been in the past, and there are like little side areas that you can go in to discover stuff, but overall the game is quite linear. I'd recommend this to someone who wants a fun, arcade-like platformer with fun combat, and who's not looking for a really deep experience. This game, there's not a whole lot of depth to it, but that's not necessarily a negative. And someone who doesn't really care so much about the character development and the story itself, because I think most people would be disappointed with it.
Alright, well, yeah, I didn't get it because it looked like a pretty standard every other third-person game that has come out for the longest time. So, sorry, Square Enix, you won't be receiving my $30 or whatever you're charging. Alright guys, thanks for joining us for this episode of Basement Critic. Until next time.